Hello, sir. Hello, sir.
Yes, hello.
Yeah, sir. I'm really very happy, sir. I'm grateful that you accepted my request and being a guest in my podcast today. So, you were actually our inspiration while we were studying in Central University of Punjab, sir. Okay, coming on to myself, this is Saishwar. I completed my pharmacy from Central University of Punjab and pursuing my PhD in natural products from National Institute of Pharmaceutical Education and Research, Ahmedabad. Welcome, sir. Welcome to SS Podcast. And coming on to about our guest today, this is Mr. Professor Felix Bast, sir, and currently based at Department of Botany, Central University of Punjab. Sir has completed his PhD in marine biology from MEXT Japan. Sir has discovered around 7 new marine algae and more species from India and Antarctica. He served as an in-residence intern with the President of India at Rashtrapati Bhawan and received President's Inspired Teacher recognition in 2015. He also won the prestigious Teaching Innovation Award from Ministry of Education in 2020. For research and dissemination purposes, he has visited around 26 countries and has around 129 peer-reviewed papers, published 7 books, and guided 17 theses. So, welcome, sir. Welcome to SS Podcast.
Thank you so much, Sai, for having me here. It's a
Yeah,
privilege. Thank you.
yeah, sir. So, I'm really excited to dive into this topic, like about your Antarctica expedition, sir. So, let's just go with it. So, my first question is, sir, can you just provide me an overview and objective of this Antarctic expedition, like how it started and what's its main objectives and studies and research has done in the Antarctic?
Yeah, well, Antarctic mission, we have an Indian mission, okay? It's a national mission to Antarctic. Only very few countries have got their stations in Antarctic, right?
Yes.
India have its an Antarctic mission right from 1980, right?
Yeah.
So 1980, 81 was the first mission. Well, it started in 1980. And every year, a group of scientists go to Antarctic. And we have right now we have got two stations in Antarctic, Bharati and Maitri. Earlier it was in 1980 when I told you it was Bharat Dakshin Gangotri. Yeah. But that station somehow there is some fault in the way it was constructed. Station went inside the ice. So it is
Oh,
that station is no more. So now we have got two stations, while many countries in the world don't even have one station. For example, Iran. Recently, they're starting a new station in Antarctica, no? Only station. Yeah. Pakistan, no stations. Well, yeah, so it's a big achievement that India has done, these two stations. The first station, the right now we have two stations. Maitri, we started in 1988. Yeah. And Bharati, we started in 2011. 2012, it has been commissioned to the
yeah.
science of the world. Yeah. So we now have got two stations, and both these stations are year round. It is also very important because most of the Antarctic stations operated by other countries are only for summer. The
Yes.
winter, they completely close down. So, yeah, Antarctic mission is a very prestigious mission. And yeah, many people have an apprehension. Can I go there? For example, I'm a female. As a female, is it how safe it is to go to Antarctic? Well, don't worry. In my trip, we had several female scientists, 14 of them, including even the PhD scholars, right?
Oh,
So even PhD scholars can apply to the ministry, and there is a call, right? Every year there is an annual call for Indian Antarctic Mission. You have to apply for it, and then you have to defend what you want to do in Antarctic, what kind of research you want to do. For example, if you propose some very basic research that can easily be done here in India, then why should the government pay your money to go to Antarctic? No? Around 1.5 crore rupees the government is paying. Yeah.
oh,
So it is really important to justify why that research is crucial for the advancement of the science.
yeah.
Yeah. And also for whoever want to go to Antarctic, my important suggestion, that the one paisa suggestion is that don't ever start smoking in your life or drinking, because Antarctic mission, there is a very very laborious 1 week long medical test, you know,
Yeah.
in AIMS in New Delhi.
Hmm.
And they test every single thing. Now, for example, the cotinine, it's a small biomarker test in the urine, and it is positive in case you smoked one cigarette in the last 5 years. And also the liver, liver, fatty liver disease, for instance. The reason is that Antarctica is such a no man's land or no women's land, right? It's so, so isolated from all the civilizations. Nearest city is, it is New Zealand, right? Auckland, for which it's around 4,500 kilometers you have to travel. So airlifting in case of a mild heart attack is not possible there. So that's why it's really risky in case you have some pre-existing medical conditions. So yeah, these two important advice that everyone, whoever is the listeners of this fantastic podcast, Sai, is don't ever start smoking in your life. And if you do drink alcohol, just quit it. Yeah. And so many interesting facets of the Antarctic mission. For example, the passport, the normal passport of India, the dark, the black one or the dark blue, two variants. No, that is personal passport. You cannot go to Antarctic. Till now,
Oh.
I have been to 57 countries. I did my PhD in Japan, many other countries. Wherever I went, it's okay. That personal passport is okay. But to go to Antarctic as part of Indian Antarctic Mission, you need white passport, the
Oh.
official passport of the government of India.
Oh.
Everything is different in Antarctic. Yeah, it is completely different paradigm shift which I ever had in my life. For example, 6 months of sunlight, a day lasts 6 months in Antarctic. Not,
Oh.
12
But
hours rest of the world. It's just 12 hours. But 6 months continuous daylight. And then 6 months is continuous dark. You're asking
oh.
something?
So then, what about the sleep cycles? Are like even if it's day, so it would be much cold. So how you manage to sleep?
Yeah, well, sleep in the sense we have stations, right? I told you, right? We
Yeah.
have Bharati and Maitri stations. So we
Yeah.
sleep over and we go only during the daytime, right? And we do, of course, we synchronize with our time zone. We used to follow the Pakistan time zone in Bharati station, which I don't know. I don't understand why they're following Karachi time in that station, though longitude is perfectly of Ludhiana. It's pretty near to where I'm talking to you from, or
Yeah. Yeah.
Kochi. So basically, in the world, the time zone is delimited by the longitudes. So I
Yeah.
have written to the Prime Minister of India too that we should not follow the Karachi time in Bharati station. Rather, we should follow the Indian Standard Time. You know, probably they will, the mission coordinators will listen to me and rather they will implement this policy. Yeah, so yeah, this is very important, the time which you asked. And it's very bizarre, which I told you. You can even time travel, like from yesterday to today to tomorrow in Antarctic. Do you know how? In Antarctic, there is a South Pole, right? Yeah, South Pole is something like a barber's pole. If you have seen the pole of the barber shops, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like the twisting, right? And there is a
Uh-huh.
cylinder kept, yeah, so rotating a cylinder. Same thing is there right in the South Pole of the world. Yeah, we have only one South Pole and one North Pole, right? And if you go there with just one foot, you can travel from yesterday to today, then today to tomorrow. Amazing, right? You might wonder why, because all these longitudes converge in the South Pole, North Pole also for that same reason. Yeah, it is very bizarre.
Very, very, very.
And also this day and night is very interesting. Day 6 month, I told you, right? 6 month day, the only sunset happens one day of the year. Can you imagine when? It is, it used to be a very important, a significant day for ancient Indians. You
Okay.
know,
Ambitious.
so, yeah, that day is called Uttarayan. That
But
happens in March 21 or 22 every year. So unfortunately, we don't even celebrate Uttarayan these
celebrated.
days. It's influx of the Western thinking, right? Uttarayan and Dakshinayan, Sanskrit literature, if you study in Vedas, So many mentions, right? But these days, what we do, we've completely forget it. It's not a holiday in India, right?
Yeah.
Anywhere in the world except one country. I did PhD there, Japan.
Yeah.
Dakshinayan in Sanskrit, Dakshinayan is basically September equinox, the first sunrise in Japan. I mean,
Okay.
in Antarctic, right? Only one sunrise in Antarctic is September equinox day. That is called Shunbung no Hi, right? And the other one is called Uttarayan. Uttarayan is called Shumbun no Hi. The other one, the September equinox is called Shubung no Hi. Both of these days are national holidays and not a single holiday for religion in Japan. So, how about Christmas? No, it's
Mhm.
not a holiday. Not a single holiday for religion, only for, astronomical natural observances.
Okay.
Bizarre, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
So you asked me about what did I do? I worked on the floristic diversity, the plant diversity through the DNA sequencing, and so many important findings which I did. For example, this is now 44th year of Indian Antarctic Mission. And
Oh,
till now, only one plant species discovery have been done, and that is by my team. So I
oh,
discovered a new species called Bryum paratiense, and this discovery got in the BBC front page.
yeah.
See, from India, having a science-related story in the BBC front page
This is
is very exciting.
very,
So
very
it
good.
got in the news, yeah. And also our new paper by my student, Miss Manpreet, she did a fantastic study on epiphytic bacteria on the seaweed, Himantothelus grandifolius. The epiphytic, bacteria which she discovered is called Planomicrobium oceanocoitus, the first ever report in the entire southern hemisphere, which we recently, few months back, we published in PLOS One. And
Yeah.
so many other studies are going on. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So we know, as we know, sir, first of all, I have a doubt. Like the climatic conditions, there would be very harsh. Like there would be less sunlight, as you have said. Like 6 months, there would be day, and even though sunlight would be very less, and basically plants generally need sunlight, soil, and other parameters for photosynthesis. How these plants are Moses you have discovered were able to live there?
Yeah, fantastic question, Mr. Ishwar. See, basically, Antarctica, it is changing rapidly because of the climate change. You were asking about the climate, right?
Yeah.
Local weather of the climate. The climate is a long term, weather is local and kind of not that big a time frame. But now the pattern is getting very clear from my studies too. Antarctica is greenifying. So plant species, you asked about how do they survive? But so bizarre. Now the entire continent, you will see a lot more plants if you look the same diversity 10 years back or 20 years back. This rapid greenification is all because of the warmification of the continent.
Yeah.
As Antarctica is getting much more warmer, subpolar and temperate species can now migrate to that continent and settle over there. So that's a very alarming situation actually going on. And coming to my own discovery of Bryum paratiense, my pet moss,
Yeah.
how do this Bryum paratiense live?
Yeah.
So we did the studies. Very interestingly, you see that nitrogen and phosphorus, right? So these two key organisms needed for any of the embryophytic life, the land plant, the embryophytes, right?
Yeah.
Like moss, fern, and all these tracheophytes, right? Need nitrogen and phosphorus. But unfortunately, in Antarctic, there is no nitrogen and no phosphorus. It's only
Yeah.
rocks, very less rocks, and most of the Antarctica is just ice.
Yeah.
So, very interestingly, what we found is that the nitrogen, if you look at the isotopes of the nitrogen, there is a two kinds of isotope, right? N15 and N14. The heavier one is mostly for the animals.
Yeah.
So this moss and almost all of this Antarctic moss have got heavier nitrogen isotope. So basically that gets the nitrogen from penguins. So
Yeah.
penguin poop. The excrements
Yeah.
of the penguin. Only on those locations you can see the moss. Pretty interesting, isn't it? So
Yeah.
these organisms, the plants, animals, and microbes have evolved several unique adaptations for surviving in such a extreme conditions like in Antarctic. For example, you are a pharmaceutical scientist. You might be more interested like what kind of biomolecules are there. The unique biomolecules evolved in light of this extreme harsh weather. For example, the UV rays are extreme in Antarctic because of the ozone hole right above the Antarctic. Yeah, it's kind of above our station called Maitri, Schumacher Oasis. Not Paradim, but Maitri. It's very near to that, right? So the UV light, of course, these add-on stresses contribute in developing very unique biomolecule which haven't seen anywhere else on the planet Earth.
Okay.
But smart scientists have characterized it, and they have even made billions of US dollar revenues based on those. One good example would be Exosap IT. Exosap IT is basically exonuclease,
Yeah.
shrimp, alkaline phosphatase enzyme. You're combining these two together. No? SAP stands for shrimp alkaline phosphatase, and this is a heat labile enzyme found only on the shrimps of Antarctic.
Oh.
And we routinely use this enzyme as part of the DNA sequencing. Basically, after PCR, you see, there are a lot of unincorporated primers, right? You need to get rid of it before doing the sequencing. So for that particular step, we need to get this, this chemical, right? Molecular biological chemical. It's very, very expensive. 1 ml is more than 1 lakh rupees. So yeah, there are a lot of adventures and a lot of opportunities to exist for bioprospecting in Antarctic, but you have to answer the curious questions like how the shrimp live in Antarctic. What are
Yeah.
the unique mechanisms for the shrimp? So I do a lot of outreach talks, like in Kerala, I do a lot of talks in a school and even a temple. They recently invited me, not recently, a few years back, they invited me to give a talk on Antarctic mission. And
Okay.
after my talk, a little girl of around 5 years, she stood up and asked me a question. How do the fish live in Antarctic?
Okay.
Very curious question, right? Yeah. Because in my presentation, I spoke that water usually freezes at 0 degree, but not in Antarctic
Yeah.
because there is solute, right? Salt in the ocean water brings down the freezing point. Minus
Okay.
1 degree, it's not solid yet, it's liquid.
Yeah.
Minus 1.8 degrees, still liquid. So it is super cold water, still not yet solidified, but fish can swim. So this curious girl, she asked me a question, how does fish live? I have no idea about it. So I came back home. Well, I told her, I don't know the answer. I pretend that I'm a know-all. Yeah? I came home and I looked up. It was a PhD thesis in a US university. I think it was in Texas University. In that year, when this girl asked this question, I'm sure this girl have no clue that a PhD thesis is being written on this exact same question. So
Yeah.
that curiosity is so childlike curiosity. Somehow when you become adult, formal
Yeah.
education kills. Yeah, I have spoken a lot in my YouTube channel about
Okay.
this issue, why formal education kills it and what precautions that we can do about this matter. Yeah.
So it's really very interesting, sir. Like, I guess there is much more to explore in Antarctica based on your answers, like how fish and how these plants survive. So there is much more to explore in Antarctica. Yes, sir. So, and what was your diet during the expedition, sir? Because how the groceries are managed? Because as you said, it is around 4,000 kilometers distance from the town. So you had to leave. So you carry all the goods together at a time, or how about the drinking water facilities there? How do
Yeah,
you?
very well question again. There is a big fallacy going on in the world. It's basically a pseudoscience concept that if you refrigerate a food, it
Yeah,
loses the nutrients.
yeah,
Fresh food is always good. But if you actually put anything in the freezer or fridge, For example, if some leftover food is there, you put in a fridge, and the next day you thaw it. For example, you put in a microwave and then eat it. That's not good for your health. Complete nonsense. I lived in Japan, friend. In Japan, they don't like to waste the stuff. The zero
Okay.
waste is very important. They, they actually cook in bulk. You see, 1 week long food, they cook in bulk, but extremely nutrient food, right? And then its diversity is really important. It's not about the carbohydrate rich. No, carbohydrate should be very less, but then protein should be more. But I mean, I can speak for hours, but my point here is that something which is frozen or inside the fridge doesn't
Yeah.
have a lower nutrient level compared with the fresh food.
Yeah.
Had it been the case, then the Japanese wouldn't have lived that long. Japanese friend lived really long. 88 years is their annual, I mean, it's their, life expectancy, per capita life expectancy. Average Japanese live 88 years. Yeah, so it's not about that. So in Antarctic, coming back
Yeah,
to your
sir.
question, we pack everything for the
Yeah, sir.
next one
Yeah,
one
sir.
year, including all the vegetables and everything, the grains, meat. There are so many people who likes to eat meat, egg. So yeah, then of course we also have dairy, right? Dairy in the sense the Tetra packs. Yeah.
Yeah,
So we
yeah,
actually keep it for a we transport everything in the refrigerated containers, shipping containers.
yeah,
But once you are in Antarctic, you don't need any fridge. It invalidates the point. You simply have to keep outside your station because the
yeah,
temperature outside the station is minus 70 degrees.
yeah,
And just have to get back in and thaw it and have it. Yeah. So the listeners, my one tip, one take-home message is that the food which is kept inside the fridge even for days is not inferior from the fresh food. It's a fallacy. Unfortunately, both my uncle and my cousin fell for it. So my cousin, for example, he died 2 years back ago, right? So he completely distrusted the modern interventions in life. For example, the refrigeration. He don't like the fridge. Anything kept in the fridge, he just don't like it. He also distrusted allopathy. He always said allopathy is, it's a conspiracy. You see, Ayurveda is only good. But I don't have an issue with Ayurveda, but the problem is that evidence is important, isn't it?
yeah,
If,
sir.
well, this guy had a stomach ache, so he didn't go to a proper gastroenterologist. Rather, he went to the local, charlatan, the Vaidya, and he gave some remedy, plant-based remedy, and he tried it for like 5, 6 years. No, nothing worked. And then he went to a doctor, a proper doctor. Then the doctor said, okay, let's do a biopsy and colonoscopy. And it was end stage, the colon cancer, and he couldn't survive. He lost it. Yeah, I mean, his family lost him, you see, two small kids. So yeah, it is so unfortunate. We have so many fake news in our society. We really have to fight for it. Yeah, a lot of misinformation happening.
And sir, actually, when I was looking after it, so in a talk of yours in TEDx, I have seen that you have said that as decomposing bacteria will not be present in Antarctica, so we can't dispose the human excrements there. We had to carry it again back. So how can you just elaborate about it, like how this happens, what's about the science behind it?
Yeah, well, this is very well known, right? Extreme cold places, even the human body cannot be decomposed. For example,
Yeah,
if you see that or the watch the documentaries of Everest, right? Mount
yeah,
Everest
yeah,
expedition, like Into the Thin Air, very beautiful book which I read long back. Or of course, there's a screen, YouTube documentary series also on that. In the expedition, like the base camp to the Mount Everest, if you see every twist and turn, there are names of it. and the names are named after the dead bodies. So in
Oh,
those turns, you can see the dead body of those
oh,
climbers who lost their life like 50 years back, 40 years back. It's still there. Everything. Skin is not decomposing. The reason is extreme coldness plus low oxygen level. But in Antarctic, oxygen is not an issue because Antarctic, most of the Antarctic is in the sea level. ASL is hardly above 100 meters. So oxygen is not a problem, but yeah, it's very cold. So, human excrements cannot be decomposed.
yeah.
Antarctica is not one country. Even Indian stations are under the supervision of something called ATS, Antarctic Treaty System, the governing body of the Antarctic, which comprises of various countries. I think 14 of the pioneer Antarctic countries, like Norway, for instance, like, the Amundsen, right? Roald Amundsen is the first person who ever set foot in the southern hemisphere, South Pole. He was competing with Scott, Robert Scott from the England. Right? England and Norway are really pioneer explorer. So as Argentina, Chile, US, Germany, Japan. So those countries have got their own take, right? So those countries are in the center of the ATS. India is also a signatory of the ATS. Well, if you look at the world map, no, not all countries have got base in Antarctic. So we are among the privileged few, I would say, you know. So ATS is actually looking the violations of the ATS. ATS, one of the main guidelines is that none of the bases are allowed to pollute that pristine land, right?
Okay.
So pollution is impossible. So if we cannot throw out any of our waste. So it is a big lesson for me how to reduce the waste, right?
Yeah.
Zero waste movement is all over the world. So to minimize the waste, the best option is to stop purchasing new stuff, you know, and stop falling prey for the consumeristic lifestyle. Yeah. So that is, I think that is really important. Yeah, personal learning experience in my life that you need to bring back every single thing, including feces,
Yeah.
excrements of not just me, but for entire people, you see. So we actually mix the whole stool into one and then pack into the barrels. We got to carry it into the ships and then backlog, so from Antarctic, we have to bring it back to India.
Yeah.
Sometimes the barrels leak. Sometimes it's so dirty smelling.
Yeah.
So, it's not about the caste, friends. See, Sai, I was born in a Hindu Brahmin family, right? So if I say, well, I cannot touch the feces, if I have that kind of like boiling caste favor, I'm not allowed to go to Antarctic.
Yeah.
So the spirit goes beyond casteism, beyond religion, even beyond nationalism, right? So it's for the science, right?
Yeah.
And yes, of course, I'm really happy, privileged to be part of this Indian Antarctic mission. And it's a service to India as a country. And that is the reason why I named my new plant species after Bharat and
Yeah.
after Saraswati, goddess Saraswati, right? Bharati is synonym of the Saraswati. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, sir. It has been a nice talk with you, sir. And my just last question is, so I just need a suggestion from you, just as you are also a YouTube YouTube person. So I just want to know how can I grow my channel?
Well, to grow your channel, you need a lot of research, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I honestly speaking, I hate the influencers, right? The YouTube or Instagram influencers, the so-called influencers, and just present everything with a fake mentality. That doesn't work. So, for example, in my channel, of course, I have around 13,000 subscribers.
Subscribers. Yeah.
It's going up. And yeah, so I don't have any ads running,
Yeah.
right? It's not about money making. It's about the
Yeah.
spirit of reaching out to the people. That is my channel is all about. So for each video that I make, I spend almost a week or two on researching on the script. So
Yeah.
what do I say is actually true or not? And I wish I could hire an independent fact checker too, but I don't have any resources for that. But that is going to be an additional additional step to verify the veracity on anything that you speak. One of my favorite podcasts is called Freakonomics. It's an economics podcast. And at the end of every single podcast, the fact checker spots, it's like a puzzle, the fact checker spots so many mistakes. Even the Nobel Prize winner's statement, if you're a Nobel laureate is an interviewer. So, yeah, I think the fact checking is extremely important. And if you cannot hire a fact checker, I actually revise my script multiple times to substantiate every single claim which I make has evidence behind it, you know. So I think proper research takes time and takes a lot of effort. Yeah. So I think my one suggestion would be to spend more time on the research rather than presentation, all those fancy style, that doesn't actually work. It might work. Well, if you look the whole world of science YouTubers, usually subscribers are pretty low, very, very low. Mine is probably one of the biggest science-based, the YouTube channel from India. But if you're actually having a YouTube channel based on, let us say, some silly jokes, you will
Yeah.
get millions of
What do you want?
subscribers.
Okay.
Yeah, it's hard to actually sell the truth,
That's
rather than the fake narratives and imagination. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. It has been nice talking with you. And once again, very thank you for coming on to my podcast today, sir.
Thank you so much, Sai Ishwar, for having me here, and my best wishes for your YouTube channel.
Yeah, okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Bye.